They told you love would heal you, that being chosen was enough to make the pain go away. But no one told you what happens when they leave. When the one person who made you feel safe disappears. That's when you realize you never learned how to belong to yourself. What if the problem isn't who hurt you, but the fact that you never felt whole without them in the first place? This video isn't about becoming cold. It's not about giving up on people. It is about reclaiming something you were never taught, the ability to feel safe inside your own skin. Because the truth is, until you learn how to hold yourself, you'll always break when someone else lets go. Most people believe safety comes from outside, from being loved, seen, chosen. But emotional self-reliance begins with a painful truth. No one can be your safe place if you're not that for yourself. Carl Jung once said that what we seek in others is often just a reflection of what we disowned within. That longing to be rescued, understood, held. It's natural, but it's also dangerous when it becomes dependency. Because when that person leaves or disappoints you, the ground beneath your feet crumbles. And that's when you realize, if your peace has a name and a face, it's not really peace. It's a contract. And contracts can be broken. Being your own safe place doesn't mean rejecting others. It means becoming the one person you can count on, especially when others can't show up. Think of the last time you spiraled emotionally. Who did you run to? Now imagine being able to run to yourself. Sounds impossible. It's not. It starts with self-attunement, noticing your own distress and responding like you would to a child. Gently, consistently, without judgment. Try this. The next time you feel triggered, place your hand on your chest and say, "I'm here. I see you." It might feel awkward, but your nervous system hears you. And that's where safety begins. People often confuse self-reliance with coldness or isolation. But it's not about building walls. It's about building roots. Deep emotional roots that hold you steady when everything outside is shaking. Jung's concept of individuation speaks exactly to this. The journey of becoming whole, not through merging with others, but through integrating every fragmented part of yourself. That includes your fear, your shame, your inner child. You don't heal by cutting them off. You heal by bringing them home. Because once you belong to yourself, no one can exile you. Emotional independence is a daily practice, not a personality trait. You create it in moments when you choose presence over panic, when you pause before reacting, when you stop begging for clarity from someone who keeps you confused. It's in those micro decisions that your inner sanctuary starts to take shape. And slowly, your body learns, I can be okay, even here, even now. You begin to build an inner voice that doesn't scream, doesn't judge, just holds you. Like a lighthouse in a storm, quiet but unshakable. And maybe the most radical thing about becoming your own safe place is that you stop needing to be saved. Not because you don't feel pain, but because pain no longer unroots you. You feel it, you honor it, but you don't collapse into it. And from that place, something new starts to rise. If someone spoke to you the way you speak to yourself, would you call that love? Most people carry an inner voice that doesn't soothe. It interrogates. That voice was shaped by years of external judgment, unmet needs, and conditional affection. Over time, it becomes internalized as truth. You're too much. You're not enough. You need to earn love. But emotional self-reliance means interrupting that loop. You weren't born with that voice, you learned it. And if you learned it, you can unlearn it. Jung believed the unconscious speaks in symbols, stories, and shadows. And your self-talk? That's the most immediate story you live in every day. Rewriting your inner dialogue isn't just thinking positive. It's not slapping affirmations over emotional wounds. It's looking at the part of you that feels broken and saying, "You're safe now." It's listening to your fear and responding with presence. not punishment. One practice that helps: mirror work. Stand in front of the mirror, look into your own eyes, and say something you've been waiting your whole life to hear. It may feel silly, even painful, but that discomfort is proof you're touching something real, something neglected. Your relationship with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. The way you hold space for your own pain determines how you show up when others are hurting, or when they can to meet your needs. That's why self-reliance isn't about shutting down. It's about showing up for yourself first. When you validate your own worth, you stop chasing people who don't. When you respect your own energy, you stop over-explaining your boundaries. And when you love your own complexity, you stop shrinking to fit in someone else's simplicity. Emotional self-reliance doesn't mean silencing the wounded voice inside you. It means becoming the adult that voice never had. The one who listens without dismissing, who comforts without conditions, who chooses to stay. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be met. Try journaling as if you're writing to your younger self. Let that child speak. Let the adult you respond. That exchange can be more healing than 100 surface-level conversations with others who can truly see you. Because when your inner world becomes a place of compassion, instead of critique, you stop abandoning yourself. You stop begging others to tell you who you are. And you start becoming someone who knows how to come home, even when no one's waiting. Emotional self-reliance is often born from abandonment, not just physical, but emotional. Moments where you needed comfort and were met with silence, confusion, or dismissal. Those moments leave marks, and unless you revisit them, you end up recreating the same dynamic, seeking from others what you've never learned to offer yourself. Jung believed the wounded child lives in all of us, and that child doesn't just want to be rescued. It wants to be remembered, seen, held. So ask yourself, where have I been abandoning myself in the same way others once did? It shows up in the way you ignore your fatigue to be productive, in how you silence your discomfort to avoid conflict, in how you stay where you're unseen just to avoid being alone. That's self-abandonment, and it doesn't end until you start offering yourself what was missing. You want to belong? Begin here, with yourself. Light a candle, sit with your breath. Say, you don't need to prove anything to be loved. That's not spiritual fluff, that's emotional reparenting. And your nervous system, your inner child, has been waiting to hear it for years. The illusion is thinking that once someone comes into your life and treats you right, the wounds will disappear. But real healing happens when you treat yourself right, even when no one else is doing it. That's when the pattern breaks. That's when you stop chasing love and start becoming it. Emotional self-reliance doesn't mean you never need anyone. It means you were not defined by who shows up, because you already did, for yourself. And that changes everything. Some people fear that if they stop depending on others, they'll become cold, distant, unreachable. But the opposite is true. The more rooted you are in yourself, the more available you become. Not out of desperation, but from overflow. You love without fear. Set boundaries without guilt. Leave without resentment. That's what happens when your sense of belonging is internal, not circumstantial. You stop negotiating your worth. You start honoring your presence, and it's in that space where you no longer abandon yourself to be accepted, that you find something sacred. Not perfection, not constant peace, but a deep, quiet knowing. I am safe here. I belong here. Even if I'm still healing. Even if I'm still learning. You don't need to escape to a mountain or meditate for hours a day to become your own safe place. Emotional self-reliance is built in the ordinary. It's how you speak to yourself after a mistake. It's what you do when anxiety knocks. It's whether you breathe through it or bury it. Jung once said that wholeness is not achieved by cutting off parts of ourselves, but by integration. So ask, how do you integrate the overwhelmed you, the tired you, the angry you. That's where sanctuary begins. Not in denial, but in inclusion. Sanctuary doesn't have to be grand. It can be a 10-minute walk without your phone, a playlist that grounds you, a bath with silence instead of scrolling, even something as simple as breathing deeply before you reply to a message that triggers you. These aren't just routines, they're rituals, signals to your nervous system that say, "I've got you." When practiced consistently, they become architecture, inner spaces you can return to when everything outside collapses. You can also design physical cues in your environment that reflect safety. Maybe it's a cozy corner with a journal, a scent that calms you, lighting that softens your mood. These aren't luxuries, they're anchors. When your outer world reflects your inner intention, your whole system relaxes. It's no longer waiting for chaos. It starts to expect care. And with time, that expectation becomes your new baseline. Peace becomes familiar, not foreign. One of the most powerful practices is checking in with yourself, the same way you would with someone you love. Ask, what do I need right now? What am I feeling underneath this distraction? Create reminders on your phone. Journal your answers. Give yourself permission to feel without fixing. That presence, without pressure, is what makes a place feel safe. You become the friend you've always needed, the listener you always wanted, and that redefines what support means. Because once you learn how to create emotional sanctuary from the inside out, you stop waiting for the world to give you permission to feel whole. You stop outsourcing your stability, and little by little, you begin to carry your peace with you wherever you go. Some people spend their entire lives searching for someone who will finally make them feel whole. But what if wholeness isn't something you find in someone else's arms, but something you build in your own? Carl Jung believed that the soul naturally seeks integration, not perfection. Yet most of us are taught to chase approval, not alignment, to polish the surface instead of healing the foundation. So we end up decorating our pain instead of transforming it. But healing isn't about looking fixed. It's about feeling safe inside your own skin. You don't become whole by being flawless. You become whole when you stop abandoning the parts of you that feel unworthy. That means sitting with the parts you'd rather edit out. The fear, the jealousy, the disappointment. It means not pushing them away, but listening. Asking, "What are you trying to tell me?" That question alone can shift everything. Because when you meet those parts with compassion, they soften. And suddenly, what used to break you becomes part of your foundation. Wholeness also means giving yourself permission to evolve. You are allowed to outgrow people, patterns, and past versions of yourself, especially the version of you that only knew how to survive by depending on others for emotional safety. There's no shame in that past. But there's power in knowing you don't have to stay there. You get to choose differently now. You get to build something sturdier, something that doesn't collapse every time someone else changes their mind. And that's the true art of being your own safe place. It's not a fixed destination. It's a relationship you nurture with yourself daily. Some days it looks like stillness. Others it's messy, raw, imperfect. But it's real. It's you. And the more you show up to that relationship, the less you need the world to show up for you in specific ways. Not because you've given up on love, but because you've finally learned to give love to the one person who's always been waiting. Yourself. So, if you're still searching for safety, stop for a moment. Breathe. You're not lost. You're just being called back to the place where real healing begins, to the home that lives in you. And maybe that's exactly where you were always meant to return. So let me ask you, what if you stopped waiting for someone else to rescue you? What if you became the one who finally showed up for you? You've heard a lot in this video, but the question now is simple. Will you apply it? Will you stop outsourcing your peace? Will you learn how to soothe yourself when the world goes quiet? Because that's the real test of emotional self-reliance. Not when life is easy, but when no one's watching. Which part of this hit you the hardest? Tell me in the comments. Let's turn this into a conversation. And if this video made something shift inside you, if it felt like a mirror you did not know you needed, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because this isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. And this is just the beginning.